Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive, really profound shift in the digital economy. We're talking about the invisible engine that's literally powering our future. While everybody else is getting completely distracted by all these surface-level tech trends, we're going to dive right into the absolute foundation of how value is actually exchanged today and tomorrow.
So, let's challenge a pretty massive assumption right out of the gate, the idea that money alone powers the digital world. Sure, financial capital is absolutely essential, right? But behind every single hire, every strategic partnership, and honestly, every single online transaction you make, there lies something even more valuable: trust. Think about it for a second. You wouldn't wire, say, a $10,000 payment to a vendor you couldn't verify, right? No matter how much cash you've got sitting in the bank. Trust is this unique form of capital that actually has to precede the exchange of money. Without it, financial capital just doesn't move.
To really put our current moment into perspective, let's look at how we actually got here. Step 1, the internet. It completely solved global communication, making the transmission of information instant and, essentially free. Then, step 2, AI. AI is currently democratizing creation like we've never seen. But that leaves us with a missing link, because while we can now communicate with literally anyone and create just about anything, neither of these massive leaps fixes one specific, glaring new challenge. We really have to pause and ask ourselves one fundamental question here. How do we know what's real? And look, this isn't just some late-night philosophical debate. It is the ultimate bottleneck of our modern era. If you can't verify the reality of the person you're talking to or the product you're trying to buy, the whole system just grinds to a halt. The crazy part is, the very same tools that made communication and creation so completely frictionless have inadvertently introduced this massive friction point when it comes to reality itself. To really understand the severity of this bottleneck, just take a look at the environment we're operating in right now in this AI-first world. We aren't just talking about, writing a quick email anymore. We're talking about entire articles, fully functional software code, photorealistic images, and, this is the crazy part, even complete digital identities, all spun up in mere seconds. It is wild to think that we now live in a world where a single AI tool can generate more content in a single day than humanity produced in an entire century. Think about that scale. When the cost of creating something drops to literal zero, the volume of noise just absolutely skyrockets.
And this requires a total paradigm shift. Because absolutely anything can be generated instantly by anyone, anywhere, the simple act of making a claim has totally lost its value. It's just no longer enough to say you did something or say you are someone. Why? Because an AI could fabricate that exact claim perfectly. The burden has shifted entirely away from the assertion itself directly over to the verifiable evidence.
Historically, basically every job interview or client pitch started with one question: what can you do? Well, the future economy really doesn't care about that question anymore. The new demand is, what can you prove? This is a massive, massive change for all of us. It means our resumes and our digital footprints, they have to evolve. They have to go from being these simple, unverified lists of our own claims into undeniable, verifiable proof of our actual capabilities. So maybe think of it less like a static paper resume and a lot more like a dynamic digital passport of your professional achievements.
So who actually wins in this new landscape? It really boils down to three main groups. First, organizations that outpace their competitors by actively reducing uncertainty, because, as we all know, in business, doubt is friction. Second, professionals who are going to rise above this massive sea of AI-generated resumes by standing out with verifiable track records. And finally, platforms. The platforms that will thrive are the ones building actual trust, rather than just facilitating simple connections. The last decade, that was all about connecting as many nodes as possible. The next decade is entirely about ensuring those nodes can actually trust each other.
We really have to stop viewing trust as just this, warm, fuzzy feeling between people, or just a byproduct of a good relationship. Trust is quickly becoming the hard, digital infrastructure of the future. Think about it like this. Just like we rely on physical roads, bridges, and power grids to move physical goods, we are now entirely dependent on trust infrastructure to move digital value. It is a literal new form of capital, something you have to actively accumulate, store, and utilize.
Okay, so what is the practical takeaway for you in all this? Well, this invisible economy isn't some distant sci-fi concept that's years away. It's already here, right now. The ultimate winners are the ones adapting today, the people focusing their time and their resources on verifiable trust rather than just blindly chasing online visibility. For years, the internet basically rewarded whoever got the most eyeballs, the most clicks, the most surface-level attention. But guys, that era is over. Today, visibility without verification isn't an asset, it's a huge liability.
As you go out and navigate this new AI-first world, I want to leave you with a really provocative thought to chew on. Will trust capital become as important as financial or human capital over the next decade? As you're deciding where to invest your time, how to build your career, or structure your business, you've got to ask yourself, how am I building my trust capital? Because in a world where literally everything can be faked, the only thing of true value left is what you can prove is real. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it gave you a lot to think about.